welcome to the Winchester Archives Supernatural Podcast. I'm Ed,
I'm Brooke.
and today we're discussing Season 1, Episode 6, Skin. But before we do, quick spoiler warning as always, we are connecting dots from across the entire series. So if you're watching Supernatural for the first time or haven't finished it yet, probably should do that before you get spoiled to literal high heavens. And finally, as always, explicit content warning. We are adults talking about an adult show that deals with dark and sensitive topics, expect adult language, mature discussions, and dark humor potential.
Potentially. I love that you throw that in there. I actually did want to just mention our small tech issues from last week. We had an internet outage and my mic cord was really bad. So that has been keeping us from getting episodes out, sadly. But everything seems to be fixed now.
We
So
got a new cord, so.
got new cords. Internet seems to be working. So we shouldn't have any more problems. Fingers crossed. And then, other than that, there's fun supernatural news. Who knew that was still going to be happening 5 years
Yeah,
after
no
the
kidding.
show ended? But Dynamite Entertainment announced a new supernatural comic book series. It's releasing on October 1st, 2025. And it's set between seasons 1 and 2. And the comic series synopsis is basically Sam and Dean get pulled away from hunting yellow eyes, and instead they're investigating a series of supernatural arson attacks.
Yeah, but that's also interesting that they say it's between season 1 and 2 because season 1 doesn't that, like, go right into season 2,
It
if I recall
does.
correctly?
Season 1 ends with a demon crashing a semi truck into the Impala, and season
Mhm.
2 picks up right there.
Yeah, so that's a
So,
little strange, they say in between season 1 and 2. My only thought is that maybe it's, like, spread out amongst season 1 and 2, like, just,
yeah,
like, in between episodes or something, or maybe an alternate universe, but, like, I don't know, it doesn't really seem that way.
it doesn't. I'm very curious to see how it works out.
Yeah, so we're
I
excited to check that out. Maybe I have to do an extra, like, Patreon episode or something about it.
Yeah, for sure, or who knows? We have unlimited possibilities.
All right.
But,
So, Brooke,
alright.
tell us what this episode's about before we get into it.
Yeah, this episode, I wrote a very lengthy synopsis of this episode or recap of this episode. We're facing a shapeshifter in St. Louis, Missouri. The shifter is bounding up women and torturing them to death and basically framing their male partners for it.
Rude.
It is very rude. Uh, Sam finds out something is happening because one of his friends from Stanford emailed his university email address,
Uh,
and it's his friend Becky, and she's saying his brother is on trial for murdering his girlfriend. Dean doesn't believe this is anything related to them until about halfway through the episode.
mhm.
And once they figure out the problem, they start hunting it, but it's a shifter, so it's kind of impossible to find it. And then it also ships into Dean, womp womp, and
Mhm.
tries to kill Becky and Sam. And it also plays mind tricks on Sam about Dean's feelings towards him. So that's our brotherly drama. And
Yep.
then
Gotta get it in.
we do. And then in the end, fake Dean is shot and killed. And the police blame all these murders on fake Dean and they close the case. So, what did you think overall about this episode?
I enjoyed it a lot. It was very fun. There's some questions about, like, timelines and some weird things, how the shifter did its things, which we'll get into. But overall, I thought it was really
Mhm.
cool. The main thing I really enjoyed was, like, the midsection of it where they did, like, a body horror montage of the shifter basically ripping off its skin, and they did a very
Mhm.
good job with that. So,
Yeah, it was
I thought that was
gross.
really cool.
It was cool and it was disgusting all
Yeah,
at the
so that's how
same
you know it's good
time,
body horror, makeup.
right? That's the biggest thing I also took away from this episode. And And Jensen playing 2 characters was
Mhm.
pretty cool to see.
Yeah, like, I always have a big, soft spot in my heart for the boys being evil. It's just cool to watch them, like, do the opposite what they normally do. So even if it wasn't technically Dean, it was close enough where it was like, "Oh, it's still pretty fun."
Mhm. It definitely is. Um, but yeah, I wanna get into all the little things leading up to all of this stuff. So, with all that said, you can listen to us on all major podcast platforms and watch along on YouTube. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/Winchester Archives Podcast. Again, where you can get just a ton of perks from us. We have a Discord community, there's monthly digital art and bonus episodes.
Yep, and then we're always accepting stories as well for our field research episodes where we share written stories by our listeners. If you have any hometown legends, ghost hunting stories, cryptid encounters, or anything else in your supernatural life, send them our way at winchesterarchivespodcast at gmail.com. And also, we're on Instagram and TikTok at Winchester Archives Pod. Also, can't believe we never thought about this before, but you can always rate our podcast on whatever platform you're listening on or like and subscribe on YouTube. It really helps the algorithm take our podcast to more people and make us have a bigger community of archivists with us. So, with all that said, with all that out of the way, Brooke, take us into the episode specs.
All hail the algorithm.
Indeed.
Episode specs. So, the air date was October 18th, 2005. And this was written by John Scheiben and directed by Robert Duncan McNeil. And our supporting cast is Amy Grab- Grabo as Rebecca Warren.
Mhm.
Now, getting into all the small things. Yeah,
Play by play.
yeah, my first note was the recap wasn't too bad this time. I
Yeah, they're
don't
starting to
remember
figure it
it.
out, I think. Just
Yeah,
a few, like, just a little bit. Just give us, like, the big main beats, and there we go. So, it was much better.
exactly. I don't even remember it. So, that tells you
Yeah, I don't really
something.
remember exactly the details of it either, but I know that it was much quicker.
Mhm, it was.
It wasn't recapping the whole series up till now, just, like, the major story plots.
Yes, exactly. Alright, so then we open up the episode in St. Louis, Missouri, and right away, the tone for this one is so different.
Mhm. Right into a horror movie. It was like, "Whoa,
Uh-huh.
that's a heck of a difference."
Yes, right? There's a woman tied up and cut up, and a SWAT team is raiding the house. And in the background, you see something move weird. It
Mm.
just it wasn't necessarily fast, but it was just, like, off.
Yeah.
Then we see a phone left off the hook. When I first saw this, I thought that was conveniently there, like, the monster had, like, called the police on itself or something,
Mhm.
and then the cops bust in, guns up, and then they find Dean Winchester.
Womp womp wah. Yeah, it was very shocking. One of those things where,
Mhm.
like, even after I've seen this series at least twice through, like, fully, it's I forgot this was an episode, so I forgot the cold open. I was like, "Oh, how did we get here?" Like, is this like one of those
Mhm.
misunderstanding things? Like, "Oh, I came here at the wrong time after, like, someone else called the police to get him?" Or is it like
Mhm.
he's the bad guy that looks like Dean? Turns out the bad guy that looks like Dean. But it's one of those things where I was just like, "Whoa, that's fun. I'm excited for this episode already."
Or if you're, like, watching it for the first time, you're like, "Are they ending it already?"
Yeah, it's like, "Wow, this must not have done well in the ratings."
6 episodes in, they're already killing off the
Ready to
main
clean it up.
character.
Yep.
Right.
He
So
decided Sam's the only main character.
which, like, right now, he kind of is.
Well, at the moment, yeah. They
Yeah.
definitely, like, flip the spotlight a little bit more later on, but at the moment, yeah, it's all about Sam's, like, current, dramas.
Mhm. This isn't our usual monster attack victim setup, because most of the supernatural opens show us, like, a clear victim and a hint at a threat.
Mhm.
And this time it sets up like Dean is the threat, which is just like super jarring.
Especially with, like, the brutality of the scene too. Like, it wasn't,
Mhm.
like, shy to be like, "No, there's blood splattered everywhere. This person's clearly in distress and, like, cut up, like, hurt, like, torture hurt." And it was just like, "Whoa." What huge tone shift from, like, a monster stalking someone in the woods a few episodes ago.
Right. And it doesn't seem like a monster attack. It literally seems like a person.
Mhm. Which is also more horrifying almost because
Yes.
it could happen.
Right. So since there's no like obvious monster point of view, it just feels so like disorienting.
Mhm. And then the immediate cut to, like, a week earlier, it's like, "Ah,
Yeah, so
gotta sit
you're
with this uncomfortable knowing what's gonna happen eventually."
right. So you're like, what led to Dean
Yeah.
like
Is he
doing
possessed? Is
this?
he a demon? Like, what's going on?
And we've only seen a handful of monsters, and 3 of them have been vengeful spirits. So we're like, okay, what are we dealing with?
Yeah. Or Dean just snapped. Or is, like, the girl, like, a vampire? Like, it could be anything at
Mhm.
this point. Because like, the girl actually the bad guy. It's all a
Yeah.
misunderstanding. That was something that came through my mind at the beginning too before we were when it got into, like, the actual shifter talking.
Mhm. Yeah, that I could see that for sure. So yes, we are 1 week earlier. So it seems really more like a true crime docu-series than a monster of the week intro. But I'm just gonna get this out of the way so we can openly discuss it. It wasn't Dean. It was the monster wearing his face.
Mhm.
Um, so it's a smart structural twist that plays into the show's formula. So we do, in a way, have the same opening we always do.
Mhm.
You just don't know it.
Yeah. Which is really fun because it's like, oh, by the end of the
Mhm.
episode, you're like, "Oh, it was the same kinda cold open."
Yes, exactly. And then the first thing we see when it says 1 week later is the boys pull into a gas station and gas is only $2.65. What a dream.
Mhm. I wish.
And I maybe went like way too deep into this research, but I just needed to know how true this was. And I had to make some assumptions to do all of this math. So bear with
Mhm.
me. So the landscaping is desert-ish. And Dean says they would get to Tucumcari by lunch. And if they head south, they will hit Bisbee by midnight. And then later in the scene, in the same dialogue, Dean tells Sam St. Louis is 400 miles behind them.
Mhm.
So that made me assume they're somewhere in Oklahoma, like the Oklahoma Panhandle area. And now we are in early 2006. So gas would have been about that price where they were and for the
Wow.
time. Mhm. And from the Oklahoma Panhandle to Tucumcari, New Mexico, it is about 6 hour away. So if you're like thinking it's maybe 7 a.m. and they don't make any stops and they're speeding, they would get there by lunchtime.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Bisbee, Arizona is 9 hours away from Tucumcari. So if they got stopped to get lunch, refilled their gas, whatever, they would make it by midnight.
Hmm.
Oh,
Honestly, I'm impressed that that you did all of that because that's
mhm.
impressive too. But also impressed that the words of the actual, show were correct. Like, I
Right.
wonder if that was just, like, a nice fluke or if that was, like, intention if it was intentional, like, good job. They actually, like, trying to figure out the mapping of, like, the world they're building too, because we know it's
Mhm.
slightly off of actual reality for some of
Right.
these locations they've done before.
Yes, because now we're in like these are real places, not
Mhm.
made up places.
Yeah, which I think is cool. Like, I prefer that.
And I even looked up um if this is a route you would take if you were driving from Oklahoma to Arizona, if you would stop in New Mexico. and everything I found says you would.
Hmm.
So the route seems real, the gas price is accurate, and the timeline is plausible, which is just so satisfying.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like, good job on the show writers for that one.
So now we're still at the gas station. Sam
Mhm,
is looking at his phone. And what's super funny is like Dean is like talking to him. He's saying all of this stuff, like
mhm.
there by lunch, Bisbee by midnight, blah, blah, blah. Sam's not listening. And Dean is like, and Sam wears women's underwear. And Sam is like, I'm listening. I'm just checking my email, which I thought was so weird. I was like, since when do you have email? Apparently, he hasn't checked his email in like 2 months, but now he is. And he received an email from Rebecca Warren to his Stanford email address,
Mhm,
and it was dated December 5th. You can see it on the screen when they show his phone.
mhm.
And by this time in the show, we're in early February 2006-ish. I also did a deep dive into the timeline, and we just cannot get into this today. This will be like maybe a mid-season or end of season episode. Uh,
We'll do a timeline.
yeah, because that's confusing. But
Mhm.
yes, we are in early February. And Sam here didn't return to school after the first episode. So he definitely didn't sign up for spring semester. So my question was, how did he even still have this email address? Well, I did digging on that too. And I found out Stanford gives you a 120-day grace period after not re enrolling.
Hmm.
So he would still have this email address for like a couple more months.
Yeah, makes sense.
So he should give Rebecca his new email address. That's all I'm
And we
saying.
learned, as well that, during this, talk back and forth that Sam had told people that he didn't that he was just taking some time off, which is, like, a good way of, like, getting out of it for now, making it
Yes,
less seem like he's fleeing a crime.
exactly.
But continue.
So Sam is explaining this email to Dean, and we find out Dean is still pretty upset at Sam for keeping secrets about Jessica's death from the last
Understandably.
episode.
Understandable, though.
Yeah. So this is like a little dialogue. Dean, what do you tell your buddies back at Stanford? Sam, I tell them I'm on a road trip with my big brother. I tell them I needed time off after Jess. Dean, oh, so you lie to them? Sam, no, I just don't tell them everything. Dean, yeah, that's called lying. I get it. I get it. Telling them the truth is far worse.
Yeah. It's a good back and bit of snarky back and forth. It's also he's
Mhm,
technically not wrong, like, he's lying by omission.
mhm. Yeah, like Dean sounds snarky on the outside, but I know on the inside he has to be like hurting.
Oh, yeah.
Like
And we
he's,
learn a little about that later on too.
mhm. Yes. Like, in my opinion, right, he has to be thinking his brother would rather open up to college friends than to him, and
Mhm.
he also seems to repeatedly feel left out since he hasn't seen Sam in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in his head, he has this picture that Sam was super close to a ton of people and, like, he wasn't
Mhm.
close with his family and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that he's basically been left alone or, like, with his dad, and that's
Mhm.
it. He doesn't get to have friends. He's probably
Yes.
resentful of that, which, again, we find a little bit more about later from the shifter.
Mhm. For sure. At this point, Dean says it's better not to get close to people because if you get too close, they will die. Well, he doesn't
Mhm.
say that last part, but we fill in the blanks. We know that part from
Yeah.
watching the rest of the series.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, we know Dean feels a certain way about family duty, and just Sam doesn't feel that way
Yeah, he doesn't feel that, bond as hard yet.
mm,
I
yet.
feel like, at least for Dean, he definitely has that bond, especially later
Mm,
on as they constantly try to sacrifice themselves, one-upping each other for each other.
yes, exactly. We then find out Rebecca tells Sam that her brother Zach has been arrested for murdering his girlfriend, and she believes he's innocent, but the police have very damning evidence. Like they have
Mhm.
video footage of him.
Yeah.
Sam is super adamant that Zach is not a killer. And Dean slices open a wound by saying,
Mhm.
maybe you know Zach as well as he knows you.
Oh, low blow.
Yeah,
What a gut punch.
right. So this implies here that Dean is saying Sam has changed and he's hiding part of himself. But I
Mhm.
also think he's reminding Sam that people can surprise you.
And that you, like, don't know who someone actually is, you know?
Mhm. Yes. Which we see a lot throughout the series too, because somebody ends up being like a monster who they thought wasn't, or
Yeah.
vice versa. And Sam then says Rebecca is in St. Louis and they are going. Dean says this isn't their type of problem, and St. Louis is 400 miles behind them. But Sam just gives him this like look that he's getting his way.
Mhm.
And Dean is so mad, he runs a stop sign out of the gas station,
On brand, I feel like, for him.
right? Then we zoom out and it shows a sign that says like "Drive Safe, America," and it's just like you just ran a stop sign.
Yeah, the irony.
Now we arrive at Becky's house. They drove 400 miles back to St. Louis. Becky opens the door and this dialogue happens. Becky, "Oh my god, Sam." Sam, "Well, if it isn't little Becky." Becky, "You know what you can do with that little Becky crap."
Yeah.
I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, some really interesting banter because, like, I couldn't tell if it was, like, flirty or, like, they were, like, childhood friends, but they're clearly not childhood friends since he's, like,
Yeah.
they're college friends, but, like, that just seems a little juvenile to be,
Mhm.
like, I mean, like, people in college, I guess, are juvenile as well, but
Mhm.
that seems like a little kid nickname or, like, a teasing in, like, kind of a flirty way nickname. I don't know, it's weird.
No, it's so weird. I also said that it kind of was flirty, but also, like, long-standing history.
Yeah, that's why I was like, it felt weird, but
And then Dean pushes himself forward and he says, like, "I'm Dean, big brother."
mhm,
And I think he obviously thinks Becky is attractive here.
yeah, for sure. Like, I took that in 2 ways. I took it one of him being annoyed at Sam, and, like, again, that kinda, like, subtle resentment of him having friends,
Mhm.
and being like, "Hello, I'm here too," like, trying to include himself, and it's because he sounds, like, kind of annoyed, but he also sounds kind of interested. So I think it's, like, a mix of
Mhm.
the 2.
Agreed. Then they walk in and Dean says, "Oh, nice house." And Becky says it's her parents' house and she took the semester off of school while the trial is happening. And she
Mhm,
wants to stay there until her brother's free.
makes sense.
And then she says her parents live in Paris for half of the year and they're on their way home for the trial.
Yeah.
I have thoughts.
Yeah,
So
this is a weird, situation.
it is because, like I said, we're like in early February right now, and she sent that email to Sam in early December. It's been
Mhm.
2 months. I'm like, where are you? Why have you
Mhm.
stayed in Paris?" And also, she said they stay in Paris for half of the year. So they go to Paris from January to June, or do they leave in like
November?
November
Yeah.
and do like that's not half the year. That's like a weird transition into the new year. I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And also, your child is in jail. Why are you in a different country?
Yeah, it seems it's I think realistically, it's the writer's way of saying, "Get the hell out of here, we wanna make a plot that involves your house."
Mhm.
You know? and not have extra people here. But it is one of those weird things of like, do you just not care about your kids after at this point? Like, do you not have a great relationship? Do you always think he was going to be a murderer? Like, why aren't you here?
Right? Because even if, like, you see evidence of them doing the crime, I feel like you still wouldn't be in a good headspace to go somewhere else for another, like, 6 months.
Yeah, especially if they left in January, then it's really weird.
Yeah, because then he was arrested, like, a month earlier. They were like, "I know you're
Yeah,
sitting here in jail. We're gonna leave, though."
we're gonna go to Paris.
And then they're like, "But we'll be back in a month for your trial." Like,
Yeah.
that's strange. They walk into the kitchen and Becky asks if they want a beer, and Dean goes like, "Hey." And then Sam is immediately like, "No, tell us what happened." So I feel like if I were Becky, I would have handed Dean a beer. I've been like, "So that means you want one and Sam doesn't?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought was gonna happen. So the fact that it didn't, I was like, "That's odd."
I guess she took it as Sam was saying no for both of them.
Yeah.
So she describes a similar situation to the opening scene. She said Zach saw Emily, his girlfriend, tied to a chair and all bloody, and he called 911, and the police showed up and arrested him for it.
Which is wild because, if he called the cops, like, I guess with her testimony, unless she was dead, right?
Mhm.
She died,
She
right?
died, yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
never mind. I would say if she told them it was him, that'd be one thing. But, like, him being like, "I showed up and found her here like this." It's a little
Mhm.
bizarre they just arrest him immediately, but
Right. Because then she says the only way Zach could have killed Emily is if he was in 2 places at the same time.
dun, dun, dun,
And then she said the police have a video of him getting home at 10:30, but Becky says Zach was with her until midnight.
just wild.
Now, listen though, if the police had that video, they wouldn't have seen it the day Sam called. So they would not Sam, Zach called.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have arrested him on the spot. They
Yeah.
probably would have taken his word for it that somebody broke in and did it. And then they would have seen the video and then they would have gone back and arrested him.
Either that or maybe they, like, just put him under, like, they, like, held him and
Oh,
then got the like, just in case, and then got the tape, and they're like, "Well, it's you."
right. It's still weird.
I agree.
Sam asks if they can see Zach's house, and Becky is like, "But why?
Mhm.
Like, what are you gonna do?" And Sam says he personally can't do much, but Dean is a cop. And Dean laughed, and then he was like, "A detective, actually." He
Yeah,
had
and he,
to
like,
like
flicked his eyes at him like, "Really?"
yes, like throwing him under the bus, basically.
Mhm.
And she asked where, and Dean said Bisbee, Arizona, but he's off duty right now.
Mhm.
And then Sam convinces Becky to let them into the house.
Yeah, lets them into the active crime scene with
Yes,
yellow tape and everything, getting their fingerprints all over everything.
DNA.
Boot prints, potentially, if there's blood on the floor, like, it could be anything.
Yes. Dean is still convinced here it's not their kind of problem, but Sam is like, well, she said he was in 2 places at once. We've looked into less.
Mhm.
So it's like, that's true. They have.
Yep.
So they get to the apartment and Becky says, "Are you sure this is okay?" And Dean says, "Yeah, I am an officer of the law."
Yeah, it was really funny.
But yeah, like you said, there's crime scene tape. No one is allowed here.
Mhm.
Like, obviously, the police are still looking for evidence. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't put your evidence there.
Yes. And Becky says here that about a week before Emily's death, someone broke into Zach's house and stole his clothes, but the police say that's not connected
Which,
at
again,
all.
is another weird thing that's mentioned in the setup here that isn't really touched on again later. When the shifter transforms into Dean and Becky, like, It just seems to be,
Mhm.
like, part of the transformation. Because, like, did he steal Dean's clothes at some point?
I think what he did was he already had jeans and a t-shirt, but he did take Dean's
He did take
jacket
his necklace too,
and his
actually, now I'm
necklace,
thinking about it.
and then he was already in Becky's house.
True. You know what? That actually works out more than I thought it would be. Yeah.
It's still weird.
No, that's true. Because then at the end, he does take his necklace back, like, very specifically. So, like,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe that is exactly what happened, so my
Mhm.
first instinct was incorrect, I think.
I guess I would just be like, if you have video evidence of me getting home at 10:30, how do you know that's not whoever stole my clothes? 'Cause it was
And
just
they
like
just happened to be my evil twin.
mhm. Well, I guess the camera did see his face. I thought it was just, like, the back of his head, but it's not. They show his whole face, so that's a little harder to dispute.
Yeah. But I get your point for sure. But, yeah, the
Mhm.
police immediately say it's not connected, and it's like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, that seems a little strange regardless. Like, even if
Mhm.
it was, like, him that did it, I feel like him doing that is, like, trying to get a excuse. So, like, I feel like they
Mhm.
should be connected.
Right. And then there's a dog outside barking a lot and growling a lot, not a very nice dog. And Becky says that dog used to be super sweet, but ever since the murder, he's been very aggressive.
Yeah, which is, like, interesting because, like, a lot of, like, folklores across the world, animals are considered, like, sacred or, like, closer to, like, the supernatural or godly planes than humans are. So they can tend to,
Mhm.
like, see these supernatural things, or the unseen things like ghosts. So, like, when they're, like, staring off in the distance or, like, barking at nothing, it's because
Mhm.
they're sensing something that humans can't, kinda thing. So it's, like, interesting, but it's also, like, the doppelganger, like, the guy's not here anymore.
Mhm.
So it's a little
Yeah.
strange.
Like, is there a leftover residue?
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, I always get, like, freaked out when I see, like, our cat just staring into the distance at or, like, up at a wall. I'm like, what's there?"
Mhm.
But now we see Sam, looking at a photo on the fridge of him, Becky, and Zach. So it's just a little glimpse into his post-hunting life
Yeah,
and
for
now
sure.
pre-hunting life.
Mhm.
All right. So Dean walks up to Sam and then Sam says, do you think this is our kind of problem yet?" And Dean says, "Oh no, definitely not. But we should probably look at that footage just to make sure."
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's, like, clearly he is definitely starting to think it is their problem. You can tell he's, like, just saying that to try to sound, like, consistent and tough, like, not worried
Mhm.
about it, like, earlier. But
Yeah. And then Dean asks Becky if the lawyer can get him a copy of the footage because it's not his jurisdiction. And then Becky says she actually already stole it from her lawyer.
which I loved. She's just like, "I just wasn't comfortable saying it in front of the cop," which obviously, but it's just hilarious, like
Yeah. And like Dean does not care. He's like, sweet,
Mhm.
one less thing for us to do.
Yeah.
Now the POV cuts away and we see Zach, quote unquote Zach, because the real Zach's in jail.
Mhm.
But we see this Zach weirdly looking at other people and writing down stuff that they're doing, like their mannerisms and stuff. And
Mhm.
then, oh no, his eyes turn a weird couple after creepily looking at them
Yeah,
walking
they, like
away.
yeah, they, flicker with, like, almost like a they blinks kinda like what the demons eventually end up doing a lot when they, like,
Mhm.
show their black eyes. It's, like, almost like a blink, and then it's, like, changes, and then it blinks back normal.
Mhm. And they kept the sound the same. It's like
Yeah.
a little click sound.
Mhm.
Now we go back to the boys. They are watching the tape. Becky says their lawyer hired a video expert and they say the video was not tampered with at all. And Sam then asked Becky if they could have those beers now and also some sandwiches just to send her away.
Which is also just, like, plays into, like, some bad, like, tropes of, like, sending the woman away to get sandwiches and stuff. But it's also a
Mhm.
really funny line of right afterwards, she just like, "Do you think this is Hooters?" And then, Dean goes like, "I
Yes.
wish," which is
Right.
hilarious because it's just, like, fitting for Dean's character.
It is
Like,
for
he would
sure.
like Hooters.
Yes. And then Dean says, like, "What did you see?" And then Sam slows down the video, and you can see Zach's eyes change.
Mhm.
And Dean suggests it could be a camera flare, and Sam says that's not like any camera flare he's ever seen.
Yeah, and it's, like, very, like, half-hearted, "Oh, it could be a camera flare," like, it's yeah, it doesn't seem very, like, that he even believed it really,
Agreed. He was just trying to make up something because he still doesn't think this is their kind of thing.
or he doesn't wanna admit that Sam was right, which is how I interpret a lot of this resistance to it.
Yeah, I do too.
'Cause he's supposed to be the hunter that understands and knows how things work, and then Sam just comes in and is like, "Hey, this
Mhm.
sounds like our thing," and he just doesn't wanna admit he's right.
True. Yeah, so Sam explains in some cultures they believe photographs can catch glimpses of the soul, and he brings up the dog like freaking out again. And now they're like speculating that maybe this is a doppelganger, which is how he could be in two places at once.
Yeah, which and yeah, we end up finding out it is actually a doppelganger, a shapeshifter. But also it is true that a lot of cultures do believe that photographs are glimpses into your soul. So that that
Mhm.
might there's like actually some that are like afraid of pictures because of that.
Oh.
But it's an interesting thing. It's similar to like a mirror in that way.
Mhm.
But yeah, doppelgangers are also a thing that is in folklore. It's a supernatural double of like a living person, and
Mhm.
they tend to be like the evil twin that haunts the other twin. So like you have a good twin and a bad twin. The bad twin tries to eventually replace the good twin because they're jealous of their life or whatever, which is a
Mhm.
very fitting for this as well for our shapeshifter here.
Mhm.
Um, they tend to also be portrayed as like a harbinger of bad luck, which is like it's like an omen, like a bad omen of it.
Mhm.
Um, and like the idea of shapeshifting in general is like one of the oldest like things in a lot of our mythology and a lot of our cultures. It goes all the way back to epic poems such as the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Iliad. Ancient Greece
Mhm.
is very common for the gods transforming themselves into different forms and using them basically using those forms to trick humans.
Hmm. Mhm.
Such as Zeus turning into a bunch of animals to like have sex with women or
Oh, yeah.
the or rape them in some cases, which is even worse. But then also to test humans, like to basically test and see if they're hospitable by going to their doors and requesting that they have dinner with them, and if they refuse, then they get cursed by the gods. Apparently, there's also like in ancient British and Irish myth of like fairies and fae creatures, which use a thing called glamour to disguise themselves and like
Mm.
basically trick humans again. It really comes down to most things using these disguises to trick humans. Because even like Celtics had the kelpies, which were able to transform into humanoids and drown them.
Oh.
And then also, finally, one that's actually relevant to this series later on, Loki tends to change shape to like manipulate and trick people, which is again very fitting for
Mhm.
later on when he makes an appearance.
Yeah, really, so many cultures have this idea of
Yeah, shape shifting is a very common thing.
Mhm. So the guy now that Zach was watching, his name is Alex, and unfortunately for everybody involved, Alex comes home early, and he can't find his wife anywhere. Her name's Lindsay. He's, like, yelling for her, and he says the client canceled last minute. So he's home now, and he finds blood on the wall, and then
Hmm.
he follows it, and he sees her tied up to a chair with blood all over her. He takes the gag out of her mouth, and she just says, "Please don't hurt me anymore."
Hmm.
Yeah, he looks like
Brutal.
yes, he is so, like, crushed and confused, and he hears a crash in the other room, so he goes to investigate, and then his doppelganger appears and hits him over the head with a bat.
Unlucky.
Very. So Sam and Dean actually, oh, Dean made Sam. Nope, backing up again. Sam made Dean wake up to get to the crime scene by 5:30 a.m. Sam says the video shows Zach going in, but never coming out. And for some reason, he couldn't look into this at a reasonable hour. And
Mhm.
Dean agrees with me.
Yeah,
He's like,
and I don't blame him at all for complaining about being there that early.
I don't understand why we have to be here at 5:30 in the morning.
He says it a couple times too.
Mhm. And this was also so weird to me. And it's 5:30 in the morning, and it looks like it's mid-afternoon outside. And I know they're
Yeah,
doing this because when you film stuff, you need light and it's just easier, but, like, come on. It could have
yeah.
been a little darker outside, or they could have done it on a set. Just
Mhm.
it took me out of the immersion. I noticed that immediately. It was just
Yeah, I
like,
thought it was, I think the only reason why it makes sense for them to be there that early is, like, they don't think the cops will be there looking.
yes, that and, like, Sam's looking in trash cans, so maybe, like, trash day.
Beat the trash, people.
Yes, and Sam says there should be a trail to follow that the police never looked for because Zach was caught inside. But Sam ends up finding blood marks on a pole, and he's like, "So
Mhm,
somebody did come this way." But they're cut off because an ambulance is driving past them to another apartment. And they are very nosy, so they walk over there, and a lady on the street tells them, a man tried to kill his wife by tying her up to a chair and beating her. So the boys
mhm.
know now that something is up here.
Yeah, because now you got a pattern.
Mhm. Though I am confused because we see the shifter hit Alex over the head with a bat. So, like, why didn't he just finish the job? Like, he left her alive and he left Alex alive? Like, it's just like he just hit him over the head to walk away?
Maybe he has anxiety. Well, I guess is he just, like, thought he might be getting caught, I guess, and just, like, left, but yeah, I thought that was a little
Mhm.
strange too, but who
Yeah.
knows?
So Dean so Sam is in the back looking at trash cans where police are not. Then Dean walks up to him and says, "Hey, remember when I said this isn't our kind of problem? Okay, well, it's definitely our kind of problem." And
Finally admits it reluctantly.
he says that the patrolman saw Alex driving home from his business trip while this attack was happening. So he was in 2 places at once.
Dun,
And
dun, dun.
And Alex even tells the police he saw himself inside of the house. So now the police just think he's crazy.
Yeah, that's a rough one, buddy. You're
Yes.
gonna look crazy to literally anyone you say that to.
Yes, exactly. So this is when Sam suggests this is a shapeshifter. And Dean says every culture has shapeshifter lore. And they basically switch roles here because Dean is usually the one like saying what the monster is, and Sam is the one telling the lore.
Oh.
And then Sam says there's a trail, and then it just disappears. And Dean mentioned, um, well, actually, first, Sam says, like, can they fly, like, in any of this lore? And Dean says, not really.
Turns out that's pretty accurate. The closest thing is, like, I guess, fairies with their little tiny wings, but not flying
Mhm.
like what he's implying.
Yeah. Then he says, but they could go down, and the camera pans down to a sewer grate that they're standing on.
Mhm.
So naturally, they go down into the sewer. And I found out that this entire sewer is a set. So
That's
it's
cool.
yeah, it's very cool. So
Set designers did a good job.
they did, and, It really makes you think they're inside of the sewer, but luckily, no actors had to go inside of sewers here.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be hard to get recording equipment down there safely.
Yes, it would. But inside of this sewer is so disgusting, like, outside of the
Mhm.
fact that it's a sewer. But when
Yeah.
we see the flesh and the goo, it's just like,
Mhm.
gross.
Yeah, it's real gross.
'Cause then we find out that the shifter is like a snake. When it changes shapes, it has to shed the skin.
Which is actually, again, fitting for some of, like, the actual folklore, at least in Navajo tradition, skinwalkers, when they use their magic, to, like, transform into animals, they basically put, animal pelts on them, and that would overtake their human forms, and then they would have to, like, remove those to become human again. So it's kinda
Mhm,
like the shedding of the skin there. And then also there's examples of selkies, which, were basically the same kind of ability. They had to change form by putting on and removing their, like, seal-like skin. So,
mhm.
there's another, like, skin shedding to, like, turn into something else kinda thing.
I never realized it was seal-like skin.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Mhm.
Isn't that, like, rubbery?
Yeah. Kinda fitting for the goop that we see here, I guess.
Mm, true. Dean then says John taught him that all shifters can be killed with a silver bullet to the heart.
Which again, pretty accurate. Silver bullets are commonly used in folklore to kill monsters, such as like werewolves, vampires, those kind of things. And both of those things are notoriously shapeshifters, with werewolves turning into wolves and vampires being able to turn into bats and stuff.
Mhm,
And sometimes wolves themselves. Like vampires actually have a lot more shapeshifting abilities.
mhm,
But yeah, silver is usually associated with like the moon and purity, which is why it would work against these impure monsters. And also, like with werewolves in particular, the moon is like the thing that cursed them. So it's the thing like the
mhm.
moon that can kill them, kind of thing. That mirrored duality there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually never would have thought that a vampire was a shapeshifter, but if it's the kind that they can turn into bats, then they definitely are.
Yeah.
At this point, Sam gets a phone call and it's from Becky. And unfortunately for him, she told her lawyer about them visiting the crime scene.
Which is insane, first of all.
It is. Even Sam says that. He was like, "Why would you do that?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Because I thought we were with a police officer, so it was okay."
I don't know if
And
that still makes it okay if it's outside of his jurisdiction and it's an active crime scene.
right. But then the lawyer found out that Dean is actually not a police officer. So she's very angry Sam lied to her, but she also, like, didn't wanna hear him out. She was just like, "No, goodbye."
I mean, that's fair. I wouldn't be very pleased.
No, because as she also states, that really could have ruined their case.
Yeah.
Mhm. And Dean, at the very wrong time, has his "I told you so" moment, telling Sam
Mhm.
it would be easier if he was like him and didn't have
True.
friends. However, in this case, Becky and Zach deserve to know what's going on, in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Oh, yeah.
even if it doesn't help them at
Yeah,
all.
even if they don't believe it, like, gotta tell them
Mhm.
the truth.
Yes. So now they are back in the sewer looking for clues to find the shifter. They see all the gross skin and the goo and the clothes, and the shifter shows up behind Dean and it hits him into the metal pole, like, in the
Yeah.
sewer.
Messes up his shoulder specifically.
Yes.
His left shoulder specifically.
Mhm. And Sam, again, is a bad shot. He shoots, like,
Yeah,
2 or
he
3
is.
ti he shoots, like, 2 or 3 times and misses.
If it makes Sam feel any better, at least the SWAT team that we eventually see later that was in the cold open, oh my god, they're so much worse of shots than Sam will ever be.
And there was,
And
like,
they're
a
supposed to be
million of
trained
them.
professionals. Like,
Yes.
they're the SWAT team. They're supposed to be able to, like, do that.
Yes, exactly. So the shifter gets out of the sewer and starts running. So the brothers decide to split up and look for the shifter. Dean is unhinged, running around with his gun out.
Yeah.
Okay, but Sam doesn't look any better because he just has his hand inside of his jacket, like from the
Looks
top.
somewhat better.
From the top, though, you know what he's
Yeah.
holding in there.
Yeah, but it's not as obvious.
Then they meet up again, and Dean asks Sam if he found anything. Sam says no. Then Dean says, like, okay, let's head back to the car. And as soon as Sam is walking away, the audience, see
Mhm.
Dean's eyes flicker to that silver, showing you he is the shifter now.
Which is very smart on the shifter's part. Like,
It
I'll give him
is.
commend, like, props for this part,
It
and for the
is.
Becky one too. He's good in laying traps.
Yes.
Poor at executing, like, fully, which we'll get to. We've
But
already actually proven it with the last guy.
I'm just thinking, like, how long does it take you to shift? When we see the part where, like, the dean is, like, ripping off his skin and the nails and the teeth are coming out and the grossness, okay, you have to go through all of that, and then you can shift? So, like, how long was Sam out there running around looking for the shifter?
Yeah, must have been, like, a good half hour.
Because then he also had to, like, knock out Dean and get him into the sewer.
And take his clothes and look like him. Because we,
Yes.
like, see the, taking off of a skin, but we're not sure how long it takes to put one on or to, like, get a
Yes,
new one.
exactly. But,
Apparently not that long. I'd say probably about a half hour because, like, later on when he goes to see Becky, Becky's already not, Becky. And that's only it was, like,
yeah,
not very much time between those 2 things, which again,
that's
we'll get to,
true.
but, like, I wonder how long it actually takes.
That's true, and that's a fair question. Though Sam here, he is too smart. He knows his brother too well. Fake Dean asks for the car keys. Sam stops to ask a question about a shifter in San Antonio. But Fake Dean says that it was in Austin and it wasn't a shifter, it was an astral projection.
Which
And
is also, like, it makes it very obvious because like, it does not sound like Dean at all because he says, like, it was like a mental projection or something, like he said, like, astral projection, but he, like, goes into, like, more detail than that, and it's
mhm.
like, that's way too much detail for Dean to give in that instance, in, like,
Yes.
any instance, and also, I'm pretty sure it was all fake.
Yeah, and then he was like, don't you remember?" And it's like, well, Dean wouldn't ask Sam that, he would just call him, like, stupid or something.
Yeah.
Then Sam throws the keys at Fake Dean, and
Mhm.
then Fake Dean opens the trunk and starts looking at all the weapons, and
And
he's very
notably, though, he
pleased.
catches it with his left hand.
Yeah. Sam then pulls out his gun and says, "Don't move. What have you done with him?" And Sam says he knows Dean wouldn't have caught the keys with his left because his shoulder was hurt. And then, like,
Mhm,
Fake Dean is like, "Well, what do you want me to do? Cry about it?" Which kinda is something Dean would say.
mhm. He's
But
like, "It feels better. What do you mean?"
yeah. But Sam just knows this isn't his brother, but he also won't pull the trigger,
Mhm.
which is also kind of smart because they were just like outside.
Yeah, that would look
So,
real bad.
yes. But then Fake Dean knocks him out with the pipe. So now we go over to see Sam tied up in the sewer.
Mhm.
And Sam keeps asking where Fake Dean is.
Or
Fake?
where regular Dean is. So
Yes. He keeps asking Fake Dean where real Dean is. That's what I meant.
yes.
Fake Dean says not to worry about real Dean anymore and that Sam should start worrying about himself. And the shifter also says the more he learns about Sam's family, the more he realizes how awful their lives are.
True.
And Sam asks, like, what do you mean by learning? And then we get a little glimpse into the shifter being able to like capture memories.
Yeah, which, is, like, a weird thing that when I looked it up, like, it really isn't really a thing much
Mhm.
in most, shapeshifter lore. The closest thing I could find that I found kind of interesting in Dungeons and Dragons, there's doppelgangers, right? Shapeshifters like
Uh-huh.
that. The original ones, like the normal ones, don't learn anything about who they turn into, but they can turn into anyone.
Mhm.
While the greater shapeshifter in D&D actually does learn memories of the things they turn into, which is like fascinating to me. So it's like, okay, apparently this shapeshifter is a greater shapeshifter in terms of D&D
Mhm.
lore, at least, which that's amusing,
He has more experience.
apparently.
Yes. He says Dean has issues with Sam because he was able to get away and have friends and a life,
Hmm.
just all the stuff we've thought about before.
Yeah.
And then he says he's gonna go see Becky,
Hmm.
and he leaves. And then I just wanna say again, Jensen is doing a great job at pretending to be Dean.
Yeah.
Again, like, he's already pretending to be Dean, but he's pretending to be Dean.
Yeah. He's like pretending to be Dean, but just like not quite there, not all the way.
Yes.
Like again, someone is acting as Dean, which
Mhm.
is a really fascinating way to, like, play a character like that. That's gotta be interesting in your head. I do think, that it was a very good this is a good scene for showing a lot about Dean and his resentment towards Sam
Mhm.
that we kinda it really is a really good thing because he just talks about, like, how similar they are and how much he doesn't like you because you left him with your dad, and then dad left me with you now, and, like, he's just resentful, 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 and it's just like,
Mhm.
I know he's doing that to fuck with Sam, but I also think that is a lot of that is true. Like, kinda what we were talking about
Mhm.
before, like, it really feels like that is partially correct. Maybe not as harsh as he is being, but
Mhm.
probably, some of that is real.
I agree. I do think a lot of it is real, but Dean wouldn't say it that way or he wouldn't say it at all.
Yeah.
So now we see fake Dean show up to Becky's house
Mhm.
and he uses real Dean's charisma to get inside.
Yeah. I'm impressed that this, like, worked.
Mhm. Me too. Now we see Sam again struggling to get the ropes off of him. And then Dean wakes up and says, "That better be you, Sam, and not that freak of nature." And then Sam says, "Yeah, it's me. He went to Rebecca's looking like you." And then Dean replied, "Well, he's not stupid. He picked the handsome one." And Sam was just so confused. Like he stopped for a minute and was like, "What? Why would you say
I
that?"
I love it, though, because it's just so fitting for Dean just being, like, so nonchalant about everything, always having to make jokes about everything to, like,
Mhm.
make it to, like, diffuse the situation almost.
Yes, exactly. He can't be serious.
Mhm.
Now we see fake Dean again, and he's telling Becky about the shifter while he is the
Mhm.
shifter. And then fake Dean says shifters are genetic mutations, and his eyes flicker back to silver.
Mhm.
Sam then tells Dean that the shifter was downloading his memories to become him. And they get out of the sewer, and Sam wants to call the police, but Dean doesn't want to call the police because they would be looking for him.
Yeah, which is very true and very fitting.
Mhm. Then fake Dean is telling Becky that he just wants someone to love him. Okay, but maybe that would
Sometimes you need, like, a human touch or whatever, and it's like, once he said that, I was like, "Oh, I'm about to be uncomfortable."
Mhm. And, like, maybe somebody would love you if you didn't kill people?
Yeah.
We don't know what he
Or be like an incel and just, like, try to, like, do this weird sexual thing that
Mhm.
he's trying to do to her.
Yes, because we don't know what he says, but he whispers something in Becky's ear, and she just freaks out and says he needs to leave,
Yeah.
which makes fake Dean freak out. And now we see what is actually happening in the opening scene. She
Mhm.
tries to call the police, but he pulls her away, so that's why the phone was off the hook.
Yep.
And the police are coming in, and fake Dean is trying to leave. The police catch him and they say, "Drop the knife," and he instead just throws it at one of them. And
Mhm.
they start shooting. Fake Dean jumps out of the window and they're still shooting, and he runs all the
Shooting
way
a
back
good
to
5 feet behind the person running away.
yes, he runs all the way to the sewer
Mhm.
while all the bullets are just hitting the ground behind him.
Yeah.
And then we see him transform out of Dean's body. It was so gross.
Yeah, it was some great body horror. Like, I loved it. The body horror makeup they all did was so good. It was so
Mhm.
visceral and so, like, gross. Like,
Mhm.
I think the teeth were kinda weird looking, but I think that was just because that was
Yeah.
probably visual effects, and it was, like, fine.
Mhm.
But, like, yeah, the most part, it was really fun to watch.
I don't know how much I actually watched it. Once I saw what was happening, I was like, "I get the gist," but I did see, like, the nails, and the nails is, like, the worst thing in any movie I ever see. If
Mhm.
somebody's, like, clawing at something and their nails are coming off, I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, because I
Yeah,
can
it's
just
awful.
imagine how much it hurts, and I just, like, I don't wanna
Mhm.
do it.
Mhm.
So now we see the boys watching the news from, like, a TV inside of the store, but they're outside, so it was like the TV was facing outside.
Yeah.
And they're saying an anonymous tip led them to Becky's house where they found her gagged, and then they pull up a sketch of Dean, which, like, okay, since Becky is alive, why wouldn't she just say this was Dean Winchester, Sam Winchester's
Yeah.
brother, and, like, all this stuff? Like, I know why they would need a sketch because they don't have his picture, but, like, they didn't say his name on the news.
Yeah, they could easily, like, have a lot more information.
Right.
And probably Sam would also be, like, on that watch list then because they're
Yes,
brothers or, like, at least associated with each other.
and they would be together.
Mhm.
So Dean wants to go find the shifter, he wants his body back. And Sam is saying they need weapons, like, they can't just go into the sewer without a way to
Yeah.
defend themselves. So they need to go back to Rebecca's to look for the car.
Mhm.
Dean is not happy at the thought of the shifter driving his car. Like, he says, like,
Yeah.
"It's killing me." And Sam
Mhm.
is like, "You need to let it go."
Yeah. It's so funny.
It is. And as soon as they get to the car, it's surrounded by police.
Mhm.
Yeah, they knew he was gonna come back for his car.
Yeah. They also know that he likes the car.
Yes. Sam then tells Dean to run because they're saying that, like, Sam is saying they can't hold him for anything, but they could hold Dean. So they're like, "Sam, you need," he's like, "Dean, you need to go." So again, his
Which
law
is interesting because I think that it like, he does get held. That's the only way I can think of is, like, he gets held because, the next part of the scene, which you'll describe here in a second, goes to the next day, and I'm like, the only way that Sam's not already there is if that happens. Like, if he got held
Mhm.
overnight and how Dean can get there without him.
Yeah, that's true. But he also says to Dean, like, "Promise me you won't go in the sewer alone." And Dean says he won't. But then the next morning, Dean goes back to the car, gets a gun, and goes into the sewer
And
alone.
he's like, "You know me better than that by now."
Yes.
Like, he knew like, "You know that I'll do that. I'm gonna be doing this."
But also, just a thought I just now had, wouldn't the police have searched his car?
You would think. You would
Like,
think they'd find the whole stash of a whole ton of more than likely illegal weapons,
yes,
like the entire arsenal in their trunk.
exactly. So now Dean finds Becky in the sewer. And then we see Sam talking to fake Becky,
Mhm.
saying they have to kill it with a silver bullet. Then fake Becky hits him over the head with a beer bottle. Real Becky says she saw it turn into her, and Dean tells her they have to hurry because Sam went over to see her. So I
Mhm.
guess their plan was after Sam distracted the cops, he was gonna go see Becky.
Yeah, but this is still the next morning, you
It
know?
is.
Either that or
Yeah.
he, like, didn't get held and then just, like, went to sleep somewhere else and then went to her house the next day.
Yeah, I don't know. We're not
So I found
told.
that kind of funny.
Once we get back to Sam, the shifter has switched forms and is now fake Dean instead of fake Becky.
Mhm.
and we see fake Becky's, like, hair and goo on the ground.
Gross.
Yes. Sam was tied up on the ground, but he's able to get free because
Which
fake Dean
yeah.
stabs a knife into a pool table.
The only thing I can think of after rewatching it again was, like, he was just being cocky, I guess,
Mhm.
wanted to savor it a bit more, but he'd also just, like, put the knife in a place that was perfect for him to, like, sit up and cut his rope with a simple kick to him just to, like, distract him for a second. I'm just like,
Mhm.
"You really didn't think that through, did you, Shifter?
No, he
You're not
didn't.
good at this."
I don't think he thinks a lot through.
Yeah.
And then they start fighting, fake Dean and Sam. But sadly, fake Dean gets the upper hand until real Dean shows up and shoots him twice because Dean is a good shot. And Dean walks over to the shifter and takes his necklace back.
Which I found, like, the rest of the episode's very good. I thought this ending was very anticlimactic because
Mhm.
it was like, "Oh, no, he's starting to get choked. Oh, he got shot. Oh, he's dead." Okay.
Mhm.
Which I get you gotta wrap up the episode, but I was just like, "Oh, that's abrupt."
Yes, exactly. So now Becky has learned the truth and she asked Sam if anyone at school knows. And Sam said no. And then she kind of gut punched him and asked if Jessica knew. And
Mhm.
Sam actually tells the truth and says no.
Yep.
And
Brutal.
she, yes. And then she says it must be lonely. And Sam looks back at Dean and says it's not too bad.
Mhm.
Then Becky says everyone at school misses him and she asks if he will call her sometime. And he says it probably won't be for a while.
Which is sad.
Mhm.
He's starting to believe Dean might be right.
Yes. Then he gets back over to the car and Dean says, "What's up with your friend Zach?" And Sam said, "The cops are blaming this Dean Winchester guy. They found everything in his lair and Zach is going to be released soon." And Dean says he tells Sam he's sorry that life couldn't be different. And I think he really means that.
I do too. And it's another thing that goes on for, like, the whole series, that they're always
Mhm.
just like, "We wish it could be different, but it is, what they have to do,"
Mhm.
They just want a normal life, but they don't get it.
And I think this is why Dean stayed away from Sam for 2 years because he wanted Sam to have that
Yeah,
life.
I think so too. And I think that's why he
Mhm.
waited so long to go get him before, like, after his dad went away, was because he was
Yeah.
trying to resist as long as he could.
Yes, and then when he really couldn't find him, he was like, "Okay, I gotta go get my
I need
brother."
help,
Yeah. And Sam says it's fine because he never fit in anyway when he was at Stanford.
which is a lie.
Yes.
Right, we know that from the first episode. That's a lie. He's just
And the
trying to, like, spare Dean's feelings.
picture we saw at Zach's
Yeah,
apartment.
yeah.
And then Dean's last line said he's sad he's going to miss his own funeral, and then they drive off to somewhere new. Or he says,
Mhm.
like, "How many times does a guy get to see his own funeral?" And
Yeah.
it's like, but for Dean Winchester, a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, no kidding, especially later on.
Yes. Um, but I had some thoughts to think about this whole not just this episode, but now the whole series going forward. So Alex, the
Yeah.
guy whose girlfriend/wife didn't die.
Mhm.
His wife survived, so she saw him, which implies to me that he would not be released easily or at all with the Dean Winchester scapegoat.
Yeah, and you made a good point too, in the notes here that he's not white, so he doesn't look like Dean.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it can't be, like, misinterpreted or, like, skewed in that way very easily.
No. And the brothers know he is innocent, but they don't intervene. So it just makes me question what is like the collateral damage that we don't see on screen.
Mhm.
And moreover, um, what is the idea of, like, that saving people doesn't always mean saving the right person?
Yeah, that goes into a thing they do a lot later on too of, like, you can't save everyone,
Mhm.
or you just can't, so it's just, like, one of those kinda things. But it is an interesting thing to think about for sure. And, like, would they
Right.
intervene? They'd intervene by being like, "Shapeshifters are real."
Yeah.
And it's like, that's gonna be a hard sell in the court of law.
I also think Sam and Dean know our justice system doesn't know monsters are real, so they use that to their advantage to escape. They're
Mhm.
just like, "It's not my problem. The monster's dead. I get to go
Yeah.
on to the next one."
Mhm.
And it's just a scary thought that there's, like, an entire unseen population of people who, like, are imprisoned or even, like, discredited in life because of supernatural threats.
Yeah.
They're, like, out of their control, and we never get to see their stories. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, it just made me think about that, and I'm like, well, going forward, I feel like that's something I'm gonna pay attention to.
Yeah, we'll have to, for sure.
Mhm. So now, getting into our crime counter, I've got 2.
Okay.
The 2 biggest ones anyway, which is trespassing on a crime scene and running from the cops.
Yep.
So, trespassing a crime scene would be about 1 year in jail since I didn't notice them tampering with any evidence.
Yeah, they didn't. They just kinda, like, were walking around.
Mhm. And then evading an officer on foot is 1 year in jail.
Yep, they did do that.
Yes. And I was going to add in open carrying a gun without a permit, but actually was legal in St. Louis in 2005, as long as the
Wild.
person was over 19 years old.
Huh. Well, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Also shows the what our gun control laws are like
Yes.
here in America.
So they only got 2 years added to their jail sentence.
Not too bad, all things considered. I
No.
mean, like, technically they murdered someone, but, like, is a shapeshifter or someone? That's where the fine line of what's a monster does a monster count as a person?
Yeah, that's true. What did the shapeshifter look like before it started shifting?
Mhm.
And since they were a genetic mutation, does that imply they were human
Yeah, I mean,
or
that's what
are
in the
human?
explanation, that's what they said, that shapeshifters are born human, and it's
Mhm.
about adapting or whatever, and I'm like, "Wow, that's nuts."
Mhm. That's true. Okay, let's get into our review. And if we voted the same, I'll just say both of them for
Mhm,
time. So for story and pacing, we both gave it a 4. I'll
mhm.
say it's because I thought it was pretty good. It was a good story, had good pacing. I don't have any more to go into.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the pacing quite a bit. I thought it was really fun. I was engaged, like, the whole time. The only reason why it's a 4 and not, like, a 5 would be because the ending I thought was a little sudden and just, "Oh, alright, we're done. Okay."
That seems to be our biggest, critique of all these episodes so far, is that the it just gets to the ending too fast.
Yeah, which I think, again, I think they get better at, and also just in general, I get that it's Monster of the Week, and it's also that's just they had to wrap it up in 45 minutes or whatever. So,
Mhm.
I get it, but it's one of those things where I was just like, "Oh, that was just very sudden." Like, all of a sudden, Dean kicks in the door, boom, boom, done. Alright.
Mhm.
Problem
Right,
solved, everything's okay, including the legal troubles.
right.
You know, they still, went on a crime scene. Like
Mhm. Yes, so for monster lore, we both gave it a 4. I gave it a 4 and not a 5 because I feel like while they explained some of the lore, they didn't explain all of it. We were left with a lot of questions.
Exactly. The amount of, like, times we've had to question the way the shapeshifter works in this episode makes it a 4. But overall, the general, like, doppelganger, shapeshifter lore, evil twin, all that stuff, very good, very good. And then the silver bullet, very good. Like, the only
Mhm.
thing was just we had a lot of, like, I think that was a lot of, like, analytical questions, like, how does it work?
Yeah.
We want logistical we have logistical questions.
Which is why it has a 4 instead of a 3 because they were questions that, like, a normal audience person wouldn't ask.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So we have a difference here. So for character development, I gave it a 4. Uh,
Yep, and I gave it a 5.
so I gave it a 4 because while we do learn about the boys and their relationship, it is the same stuff we have been learning. We're rehashing it for the last 6 episodes. So I think we need to move forward. It was, like, cool to see Dean's perspective for once instead of Sam, but I already knew all of this.
Fair enough. I give it a 5 just because of basically what you just said. The Dean's perspective, like, the insights the shapeshifter gives, I think, are very true to Dean's actual feelings.
Mhm,
And, like, learning how much he resents him and how much that and even, like, when he was kind of talking to Becky about how he feels so lonely and that he's a monster and that all these like, he starts, like, just, like, opening up, completely as the shapeshifter, but he made a reference to Dean and said, "We are just so much alike."
mhm,
Like, I understand. And it's like, that's what made me go like, "Ooh, that's another level of it," that Dean thinks he's a
mhm,
monster too. Dean thinks he's, like, a freak and outsider, like, all like, it's like all the things we
mhm.
knew, but, like, more, and I liked that, so I gave it an extra bump up,
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Visuals and direction, I gave it a 5.
and I gave it a 4.
I give it a 5 because I really liked the tone shift at the beginning. It switched it up, and it was
Mhm.
very jarring for us. I love that the sewer was a set. That's pretty cool, and, yeah, I thought the effects, even though they were so gross, they were so well done.
Yeah, and that's why I gave it a 4. I gave it so strong because of exactly the things you said. The sewer bit, like, I know is a very big thing for you, just didn't give me that extra push to make it a 5. As much as it did
Mhm,
for you, but I thought a lot of it was very good, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
mhm. So now our next one, we had differences again, which is emotional impact. I gave it a 4.
And I also gave this one a 5.
So I have a 4 because I was emotional. I just wasn't emotional enough for a 5. Like, I don't know how else to to describe
Yeah,
it.
and then for me, it's the same thing. I was emotional enough for a 5 because, like I said, those big things with Dean really kinda hit me, and I was like, "Yeah, that's
Mhm.
some good stuff." So and that impacted me like that, where I was just like, "Man, that's gotta be, like, sorrowful, lonely." I was, like, just feeling a
Mhm.
lot of emotion for him, so I was like, "I like that." I'll give it a 5.
Yeah, that makes sense. Rewatchability, we both gave it a 5. This is
5 out of 5. Watch this anytime, any day of the week
Mhm.
with any person that's seen it or not.
Yeah,
Fun.
this is a good one, and on top of that, while this is what they would consider a lore episode and not a whatever they called their filler episodes. I forget the specific name they called them, but
Filler episodes is what I'll call 'em.
I feel like this wasn't a filler. This was definitely part of their lore. However, you don't get too deep into it, so anybody can watch it whether or not they've seen the show. You wouldn't be too confused.
Definitely. I think this is very close to a filler episode because I don't learn a ton about their main goal of, like, finding their dad or their like, they or
Mhm.
Yellow Eyes, or anything like that. So, like, I don't think it
Mhm.
advances that part a lot, so it's pretty fillery, but it's like a good filler, like, it's a good meaty filler.
Mhm. All right. So then our last category, which is salt and sass, we both gave it a 3.
Yeah, it had some good lines, had some funny quips, especially from Dean. Dean's really good at that always. But, like, it wasn't anything to, like, write home about. It was, like, average, which is 3.
Mhm. For sure. Yeah, there wasn't any like iconic lines that stick out for the next 15 years.
Mhm.
They had some good banter, but like you said, it wasn't anything amazing.
Yeah.
So that makes my average score a 4.14 out of 5.
Mine's 4.29.
which leaves our combined score at a 4.21 out of 5.
which I think is like one of our highest episodes. Maybe if not the second one, second highest, might be third highest. I'm not sure on that one,
It's
off the
not
top of my head. But I know that it's one of our higher rated episodes, which I think it deserves.
Yeah, I do too. It's definitely not as high as our pilot rating because that was
That's the best
almost
one so far.
yeah, that was almost a 5 out of 5, but, I think it's our second highest,
Yeah.
so it's worth watching.
Mhm. Any
Mm,
final thoughts?
no, we got them all out. Mhm.
Fair enough. Well, that ends us. Brings us to the end. However, of season one, episode five, six, six. We got to change our notes. Make sure we do it the right way this time or
Mhm.
next time. But like I said, that brings us to the end of season one, episode six. Skin. Thank you all for joining us this week as we unraveled some identity issues of the supernatural variety. Next week, we're heading to a small college town to hunt down an urban legend with a deadly hook. And whenever you're ready, we'll see you in the archive.
Bye.